Welcome to the final reading of the Louisiana Review reading series for the, 10-11, season. There are a couple of things to take care of before we begin. First of all, I'm going to send around again because this stopped at 2. And just in case somebody just didn't listen or whatever, we have the open mic sign-in sheet. We have fiction and poetry at the top, and you have music, then we have that as well. I'm going to send it around. Please make sure that it gets all around the room because, there are many people. So I'm going to pass it to you. Can I entrust you with this? You will pass it on. Are you sure? Despite the fact that you're a vegan. Okay, good.
You're a vegan.
All right. All right. The next thing, the next order of business is why are you pointing at me? The next order of business is this. We always do we can call it a community poem, if you will. It's titled here Line Poem. I can give you the surrealist background of this, but I'm not going to do it. So we'll just call it a line poem. Here's the deal. We have one line that has already been added, sort of out of protocol, but nonetheless we have a line of poetry, and what we're going to do is pass it around. And each of you adds another line, and at the end of the night, I will read the final result, and it will be a poem, and it will be a poem that you have written, and therefore you are responsible for any badness in this poem. Okay? So, or goodness, if that's the case. What's good, dude? What? Okay. All right then. I feel like I'm in a classroom, sorry. The first line is, the world is a cloistered, I'm going to ask your opinion. Should it be clamory or clamory, since the word doesn't really mean anything? You want clamory or clamory? Clamory? Okay. Then it is, the world is a cloistered clamory. And since I don't know what a clamory is, the next person who writes a line might want to try to invent a definition. Okay? So I pass this on. You were trustworthy. I'll give it to you. Okay, very good. All right. One more comment. Okay, please. Desist from talking. That means, of course, don't do it. Desist from talking while our reader, our featured reader, is reading, and then anybody else is reading. Please, even if you're not listening, pretend like you are, because it's only nice. Imagine you were up here. Okay. Another thing too, please put away your cell phones, electronic devices, etc. All right. One more thing too. If you are here only for extra credit, as shameful as that might be, at the end of the open mic, forms will be available. I think Dr. Fontenot will probably put them on this table right here. Please fill out a form and leave it so that way he can turn them into the appropriate professors. If you're here because more than one professor is offering you extra credit, please sign a form for each professor. Because if you list like 5 professors, and I discovered this about a week ago or so, then apparently some people just write a lot of professors' names, but it's only one sheet. It can only go to one person. So make sure to sign different sheets for the different professors, okay? Any questions? Oh, I thought somebody was applauding for a second there. Okay. All right, then I'm going to go ahead and move on and introduce our featured reader. Our featured reader tonight is Katie Manning. She's a doctoral fellow at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. She is the editor-in-chief of Rougarou, which is the, I believe, online literary magazine of UL. She has had poems published in New Letters, in Poet Lore, and Sow's Ear Poetry Review, which sounds appetizing. And she lives in Lafayette with her husband and her growing fetus. So you might want to wish her a mazel tov, for those of you who are Jewish. Okay. Anyway, without further ado, Katie Manning.
Well, I love how Katie cheers for me. I'm going to need to take you on the road. Be my thank you all for being here tonight. Even if you're just here for extra credit, I'm happy to have you. I like smiling faces, or slightly blank looking faces, or any faces in an audience are always good. So thanks for being here and thanks for having me. The first poem I'm going to read for you tonight is one that is going to be published in the next issue of the Louisiana Review. So I thought I'd give you a little sneak preview. I hear that's coming out in a few weeks. So this is called How to Be Horrific. And it is after a Flannery O'Connor collection of stories, and it's kind of a compilation of a lot of details from several of her more disturbing stories. So, How to Be Horrific. Love your purple hat. Hand out pennies to black boys. Hate your mother's purple hat. Watch as she dies on the sidewalk. Shout at a bull in the moonlight. Let it gore you in your car. Change your will. Build a gas station. Beat a child or be one. Resemble your grandfather. Beat your grandfather. Call for a priest. Be an artist. Revel in dying to shock your mother. Rage alone with your moral mob. Call the sheriff. Call a slut. Plant a gun. Shoot your mom. Eat your cake with peanut butter and ketchup. Eat your Bible, page by page. Brag because you're grateful. Thank the Lord you're not white trash. Sniff up sin, get God tattooed on your back. Call all black men preacher, throw your body down the stairs. Then rise, rise, rise. Converge upon everything. So if you haven't read Flannery O'Connor's collection of short stories, Everything That Rises Must Converge, you should. It's like a little sneak preview of some of the bizarre and disturbing things you'll find there. The rest of the poems that I'm going to read for you tonight are from a collection of poems that I'm working on right now. My working title for the collection is A Whole Mother Story, and that came about because I really love it when people say a whole mother. Do you know what I'm talking about? And because really you mean another whole, but you put the whole in the middle of the word another, and so you say a whole nother or something. So that's a whole nother story. And I love it when people do that. It just makes me happy. I don't know why. So I thought it would be kind of fun to play with that, and to play with kind of the way that we play with language, and to call my collection A Whole Mother Story. So as you might have noticed, if I turn to the side, there is a baby growing inside of me. So I've been a little preoccupied with that, and for about the last year and a half I've been thinking about it, impending. My husband and I actually were kind of planning to start a family. So some of these poems have to do with autobiographical things. Some of them have to do with fairy tales and historical narratives of mothers that I find interesting or kind of wanted to play with or do something weird with. Some of them play with language and the whole idea of what does it mean to be a mother or a baby, and those are fun for me as well. And then some of them have to do with surreal baby dreams that I've been having. Some of you have probably also had baby dreams. I think it's supposed to mean something in dream interpretation. I don't delve into that too far. I just like to play with the dreams because they do some weird things. So these are the poems that are coming at you now. I watched my mother's birth. I sat in a folding chair on someone's back porch. I was 4 years old. She stood in a pool with an old man. He held her wrists and pushed her down into the water. She splashed and stood again. Everyone clapped. That was it. She smiled, pink and dripping in her new fuzzy sweater, and I thought being born again must itch in wet wool. And I figured I would follow a somewhat autobiographical poem about my mother with this poem, which is called Sleeping Beauty's Mother. A king and a queen wanted to have children. They tried everything. Travel to drink the waters of the world, vows of silence, solitude, and celibacy, pilgrimages to trendy shrines, prayers to various gods and goddesses, and nothing worked. Finally, they tried sex. The queen became pregnant. The king chased after fairies. 7 fairy godmothers came to give the baby gifts, though the king didn't bring the oldest fairy in the land, so she brought herself and a curse to the shower. The girl will prick her finger with a spindle and die. No, said the last young fairy, the girl will only sleep for 100 years, and she'll wake to a prince's kiss. Everyone loved the lovely young fairy, and everyone felt sorry for the little baby doll. The king passed anti-spindle laws, and the queen, tired of swollen breasts, sleepless nights, a king who was too friendly with fairies, thought of a century of sleep and a new young prince, and wished she had her daughter's good luck. So, I mentioned at dinner with a few people in here that I took Spanish, so I'm a little lost in Louisiana with all of the French, but I'm going to read a poem to you that plays with a little bit of Spanish. So, for those of you who have not taken Spanish, brief language lesson. In this poem, I use the play on the words in Spanish, cansada and casada. Does anyone know the distinction? One is married and one's tired. That is hilarious to me. And the trouble is, those words are so similar that half the time you can't remember which one's married or which one's tired. And so you end up saying you're tired when you mean you're married, and they can mean the same thing, but not necessarily. So I play with that in this poem. Muñeca, anyone know that Spanish word? A doll. It actually means 2 things. It can be a wrist or a doll. It's just kind of a bizarre little feature. I also play with man and hunger, which are hambre and hombre, very similar. And then money and pain, money in English being dollar and pain being dolor. So if you are familiar with those things, then you kind of know what's happening in the poem with language slippage. And the fact that these words in Spanish are so close that sometimes you don't know what's going on. And finally, embarazada is pregnant. So, with that little brief language lesson, I will read this poem, which is called When in Mexico. When in Mexico. I don't know if I'm married or tired or neither. I don't know if I hold a wrist or a doll. I don't know if I have a man or a hunger, money or pain, but I do know I'm embarrassed, not embarazada, when I tell a young girl with baby face and baby belly, no, I have no children. The next poem was just published in a book called, or in a journal called The Mom Egg, which is kind of fantastic. It has this, do you know the painting of Venus kind of coming out of the clamshell? This journal, for their logo, they use a cracked egg, and so it's Venus coming out of this cracked egg, and it's just kind of fun. But they just took this poem, and so it's the first of the motherhood poems from my collection that I've had published, so that's exciting. So thank you, The Mom Egg. And this is called Signs of Life. Little alien planet, I've got you surrounded. I have scanned your surface for life and see you have one being, blob-like, almost human. So of course the question remains, do you come in peace, or have you come to tear me to pieces? And now I'm going to read you a sequence of baby dream poems. I call Flannery O'Connor bizarre. These might be slightly more bizarre, but I'm going to read you 6 of them that I've been working on. And these are actually based on real dreams that I've had, so a little input into my psyche. If you wanted that, you might not, but we're going to do it anyway. So, baby dream number 1. Suddenly I drop you on linoleum, you're dead. Your body lies beneath a table, you're dead. I try to pick you up again, you're dead. Your left leg has popped off, you're dead. Why were you balanced on my hip, you're dead. I didn't know I was holding you, you're dead. I don't even remember giving birth. It is kind of scary. It was a scary dream. Slightly terrifying to wake up from that dream. Baby dream number 2. Famous actor waits in a dirt lot outside a bar. Hi, I don't know your name, but I love your character. Famous actor thanks me, and I start to walk away. But now he's holding a small baby who's just woken up. Famous actor asks if I want to hold the baby. I take him. He screams. I turn him facing out and sing softly in his ear. The baby quiets and turns his head to listen. He smiles at me, purposefully. But now it's time to go into the bar, and I can't cross this rocky stream with the baby in my arms. I stand scared at the edge, then hand the baby back. When the water fills my shoes, I spread my empty arms. And the famous actor in my dream, in case you want to know, is the guy who plays Leonard in Big Bang Theory. And he was also Darlene's boyfriend on Roseanne. No idea what that actor's name is. And I've looked it up since writing this poem, and I still can't remember his name ever. Does anybody know Leonard on The Big Bang Theory? He's awesome. Great show. You should watch it. But anyway, there you go. That's the famous actor in my dream who randomly handed me a baby. So.
Johnny Galecki.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. That is, it's Johnny. Is it Johnny Galecki?
Johnny Galecki.
Yeah. Someone, a voice from afar knows.
That will be Dr. Fontenot, of
Yes.
course.
Fantastic. Very good. I appreciate that. Yeah. I should make a note. Except the whole, I don't know in my dream, so I don't stick your name. All right. Baby dream number 3. You are too small and look like a porcelain doll with teeth. I place you on the floor, my parents' house, and you walk as well as I do. I ask how you learned to walk so soon. You tell me about the weather. Baby dream number 4. My belly becomes a black hole in space, lungs and hips held together by habit alone. My new belly pulls things into itself, books, photos, bamboo, vase and all, Kleenex, coasters, a glass of milk, things to keep a baby happy. Nothing, not even light, can return. No baby will ever escape. Baby dream number 5, I feel like I need to show you because it's really doing something strangely visual on the page. So the top half of this page is baby dream number 5. I had this somewhat terrifying dream that where my pregnant belly was much larger than it actually is right now, and it was an anthill. So this is baby dream number 5, and I put the words in such a way on the page that they seem to be kind of swirling around because I wanted to kind of get that visual effect because it disturbed me. So I thought, you should pass that on to readers, right? Disturb your readers. It's a good thing. So baby dream number 5. Don't disturb, flat on my back, the ants swarm, swirl, build the mound above my middle, smile down, hundreds, creatures crawl, hundreds, in, out my belly button, carry crumbs, tunnels, take dirt, I contain the great wall of anthills. Need to go, work, would rather lie, watch, the ants are all female, a living henna tattoo, people seen from high above, can't conceive, making their mound collapse on, around them, this hill could never create alone. And baby dream number 6, I guess I should show you this one too. So, second half of the page, the words in single file falling down the page, and you will know why when I read it. So, baby dream number 6, the last of the baby dreams that I'm going to subject you to today. One by one, the women come and drop their babies down the well and wish for more. The next poem I'm going to read to you comes to us courtesy of dictionary.com. I looked up a word, I don't even remember what the word is, I'm sure it was something mundane, but one of the synonyms that it listed for the word was thing. And I thought, really? So I clicked on thing, and it actually had a list of synonyms for thing. I mean, synonyms for thing, that seems ridiculous. How do you decide which things get to be synonyms for thing? It was kind of strange. So I started playing with this, and it got very weird. So this poem is playing a lot with language and the idea of how words can equal each other. I still can't figure out about anything equaling thing, but Here we go. Synonyms for thing. A thing is a baby, is a bird, is a body. A thing is a cookie, is a creature, is a car. A thing, a devil, a duck, an egg. A thing, a face, a fish, a guy. A thing is a scout, is a slob, is a sort. A thing is a soul. A soul is a psyche or a spirit in a bowl. A soul is a part of a self in a food. A soul hears a sound. A soul is a ghost in the mood for a god. A god has a mind and a myth of a kind. A god makes a person, makes a power, breaks a world. A god flaws a ruler, breathes a being, claws a song. A god is the baby of a soul and a thing. The next poem is for my mother, who was 19 and unmarried when she had me, and was hoping very hard that I would be a girl. Because she knew she'd be raising me alone. And so it's called The Single Girl to Her Swollen Belly. And when I first wrote it, it was very straightforward, just as if someone were talking to, to her belly and telling the baby what she wanted it to be. And the more I started working on the poem and revising it, it became a lot more fragmented. And so the different thoughts that I was kind of trying to capture that she would have been having started to kind of overlap with each other. So on the page, it lines up so you can kind of make sense of what each strand of thought is. But when I read it, and if you read it in a more linear fashion, all of these things are overlapping, and they get a little messy because it's kind of trying to. I'm trying to capture the stress and the fragmented nature of stressful thoughts. So this is The Single Girl to Her Swollen Belly. Dress you can be if you want, before you can focus, I promise, a princess, I promise. If I hear, if you are a girl, tell me your secrets, your eyes, and I will tell you, I will read you, I'll never put you, I will not. I'll try. I will sing you mine, Peter Pan lullabies, on a leash, and rock songs, and a pirate, in pink only. It's a boy, not to cry. The next poem is called This Is Not a Hoax, which means, of course, that it is. And it is based on an 18th century woman in England who basically the real story is that she had a miscarriage, and somehow, the story is a little fuzzy and there are a lot of versions of it, but the one I like is that she and her doctor decided that they could get some publicity and make some money if they made up the story about how she had given birth to these animal parts. So they basically put animal parts inside of her body, and while she was still expelling things because of her miscarriage, she basically gave birth to various rabbit body parts and things. It's very disgusting. But it freaked out the whole medical field. And so, I mean, there were surgeons examining her. And, when it came out that the whole thing was a hoax, a lot of the medical people who had examined her and who were trying to figure out what was going on and who had even said, yeah, this is real, a lot of them were discredited. And I think this is a true detail, it comes up in a lot of the narratives, that she actually was imprisoned for at least a brief time for fraud. So this is my version of the story, if it were real. So if she really did give birth to rabbits. So this is not a hoax. Mary Toft would never forget the walk home at twilight when a rabbit jumped in front of her. She screamed and fell. She woke in darkness and stumbled home. The next day, rumbling in her belly. The next week, she felt like something was crawling inside her, kicking at her spine. She thought she must be very ill and took to bed. After 3 more weeks, her water broke while her husband was out in the fields. She fainted again, coming to just in time to see a long ear emerge between her thighs, a second ear, and then the first of 15 soft, slimy bunnies. She stared as they stumbled out the door and disappeared. It's kind of terrifying. So the next poem, playing on the "This is not a hoax," is called "This is not a metaphor." I was enjoying titling poems with negation for some reason. But this is after Sylvia Plath's poem "Metaphor," in which she has basically this layered list of metaphors for pregnancy. And she never says that she's pregnant. She just says, "I am this." And she has these lists of things. You should check it out if you haven't, Sylvia Plath, Metaphor. I like it a lot. But this is not a metaphor for Sylvia Plath. I am the red balloon in a cushioned room, the ripe pumpkin mid-air heaving toward the pavement, the overblown tire, the riddle already solved. The next poem, anybody into math in here? Yeah? Woo! Okay. I like math too, even though I'm an English person. Some of us like both. It's okay. So this poem follows, the syllable count of each line follows the Fibonacci sequence. Anyone like the Fibonacci sequence? Do you know what it is? Slight murmuring? Okay. Fibonacci sequence is where two numbers in the sequence, when you add them together, they make the next number. And then you add the next two numbers together, and they make the next number. So the syllable count starts 1, 1, and then 2, and then you add 1 and 2 and get 3, then you add 2 and 3 and get 5, you add 3 and 5 and get 8, and it goes on like that forever and ever. Except my poem doesn't go on forever and ever. But the syllable count is mirroring the Fibonacci sequence, and the content of the poem is talking about, I'm sure some of you have at least seen somebody looking at those week-by-week guides. Like this week, this is what's happening inside your body. Your fetus is, 2 centimeters long, and it's getting its heartbeat, and those kinds of things. So this poem plays with that idea, and that's why it kind of keeps getting bigger and bigger as the baby would. So it's called Week by Week. At this time, your offspring is invisible. Now a speck, the dream of seed and root. Baby is a dime, quarter, increasing in value. Golf ball, gerbil, your own palm. Then more sports equipment, softball, football, racquetball court. By this point, your baby is a train, a field, a city, an ocean. This week, baby is the sky. Now a hemisphere, now a blurry world. I'm going to take a sip of my water. The next poem is called Surprise Ultrasound. And it's scary, not in the creepy Flannery O'Connor sort of way, but just in the way that it is autobiographical. And so when I went for my first appointment where we were supposed to hear the baby's heartbeat, the doctor couldn't find it. So thus the surprise ultrasound. And so this is probably the most autobiographical of the autobiographical poems. Many autobiographical poems, even if they're about me, they lie a little. That's what we do in poetry. They're art, and this one still is, but it's also close to home. So, surprise ultrasound. I forget what a heartbeat sounds like when the doctor can't detect one. No beat, just white noise, infinite space in my abdomen. I beat back my own banging pulse, beat back empty thoughts of an empty body. I race my husband down the hall to the ultrasound room. A pause, a beat. A pale form appears on the screen. Its heart sounds less like a beat and more like an avalanche or a waterfall, but it will do. The next poem is a mother that responds to a fairy tale. And it might help you to know that The Story of Grandmother is an alternative title for Red Riding Hood. And for those of you who don't know the story of Red Riding Hood, there are a ton of different versions, a lot of variations. Different kind of folk traditions have these different ways of presenting the story. And so I decided to kind of add my own twist on the story and to play with one of the variable titles. So my poem is called The Story of Grandmother. I had always wanted to be a grandmother, to squeeze a child's cheeks and say, "You're so cute, I could eat you up." I wanted to be a grandmother in a nightgown, slightly enfeebled, but well enough to get out of bed and bake cookies when my grandchild came to visit. I wanted to be a grandmother so badly, and I'd never had the chance before. I wanted to be a grandmother, and a little girl walked past me in the forest this morning, swinging her basket and saying, "I'm going to my granny's house." I wanted to be her grandmother, but she didn't have a kiss for me. I wanted to be her grandmother, so I ran ahead to her grandmother's house. I wanted to be that grandmother, so I pretended to be her granddaughter, and the grandmother let me in. I wanted to be a grandmother, so I ate a grandmother whole. I wanted to be a real grandmother, so I put on a grandmother's nightgown and climbed into a grandmother's bed. I wanted to be a sick grandmother accepting a basket of food, so I called to my granddaughter, "Come in, dearie." I wanted to be a grandmother, feeling better and baking cookies, but my granddaughter was afraid of me. She was afraid of my hands and teeth. I wanted to be her grandmother, but she didn't believe I could be. I had always wanted to be a grandmother, to squeeze a child's cheeks and say, "I could eat you up." And the final poem I'm going to read for you tonight is the title poem for my collection, and it's a little bizarre, as some of these have been, you might have noticed. And so it's called A Whole Mother's Story, and I will show you this one as well. It has one sentence at the top, and each word is footnoted, so the poem really happens in the footnotes. So, A Whole Mother's Story. Once upon a time, there was a mother. Once, an understatement, a lie. Best to start false and work your way around. Upon, taken abstractly, not the same as standing upon a table or traveling upon a road, but much lower, more stationary. Ah, another misleading substitute for one. Never simply follow the first. Time, which runs in circles like a clock, no matter how the squares on calendars try to contain it. Comma, breathe, keep breathing, good. There, seems so far away, but always holds here as well. Was, everything used to exist, some things might exist still. Ah, no longer just one, open your mouth wide. Mother, more than her, flying creature, tasty other, ill-defined. Thank you.
One more round of applause for Katie Manning. We're going to take a break for a few moments. Please take the opportunity to purchase items, get something to drink, some coffee, some water, whatever you'd like. We'll resume again with open mic in about 10 minutes. Until then, I will see you later. All right. I don't have a line poem to read. Oh, there it is. So the last line has been officially written. You have signed off on it, right? I've gotten the signature. Thank you. Oh, I can flip a page. It's okay. I've done it once or twice. All right then. Well, this is it. The evening, the year of the reading has come to an end. So we will end with a reading of your poem, of the line poem. Who's laughing? Hey, you laugh now. Wait till I go through this poem here. Oh my God. And I might need some magnifying glasses for one of these lines here. Let me see. The reason why I enjoy. Okay, fair enough. Okay. I recognize a line, and I think I know who's responsible for it. So, but we'll see. Okay. Okay, I'll do my best, all right? So here is the poem. Again, you're completely responsible. I had nothing to do with this, okay? The world is a cloistered, was it clamoury we decided? Okay, all right. The world is a cloistered clamoury, which means that it's full of clams. As odd as this may be, your mom is a universal answer. Smiley face. Somebody put a smiley face at the end there. And the awkward turtle is the reason why I enjoy life. And when the cock crows thrice, and the wind shall toss its dice, and if it rolls a 4, it will drop you to the floor. That's a fragment, by the way. As I bleed this ink on this page, my thoughts are no longer caged. Words flow from my brain and taint the yellow canvas. Taint the yellow with red. There's no red on here. With the blood of the enraged. I'm crawling into a pink-white clam. Then the clam swallows me whole. I scream and I scream, but no one hears me. That's not part of the poem as far as me. All right. That's what she said. Sorry, I screwed that up. Okay. I wonder if anyone knows who she is. I can't get no satisfaction. I shall put... This is a horrible thing, okay? There's a word here that I can't pronounce except in one way. It's the white stuff you put on bread, and I can't say that word.
Be nice.
I can only say no. I said on bread. I said on bread. So I can say here. I shall put mayonnaise. Is that it? Mayonnaise on my sandwich, or is it? And this is the way I actually pronounce the word. Mayonnaise.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, fine, whatever. You know, blame my mom. All right. Or mustard, or custard. Either should suffice. Maybe I'll just eat twice. I'll have eggs and rice. Smiley face. Or not. Not until tomorrow, when the bananas are ripe. Oh, Chanel or Gucci? Puff the magic dragon breathes cotton candy. 12 pipes to...
Toking.
What? I don't know. I can't read that word there, and I'm not listening to you, sir. 12 pipes to hang?
Toking.
Toking. 12 pipes, toking in the night. 12 pipes toking in the night. This must be a Christmas reference, okay. Blue waffles, a fair trade in this industry. Sea monkeys and Jello Kool-Aid. One love, Raising Cane's chicken fingers. I like turtles. Llamas are amazing. Mr. Williams likes mamas too much. That's it, y'all. You did that. Thank you for coming out. Hope you had a good time. Check us out again next semester.
Okay,